Have you ever wondered why some seasons of your life feel unnecessarily hard? Why the door doesn't open even after you've prayed? Why the struggle continues even when you feel you've learned the lesson? Many people quietly ask this question at night. They don't say it out loud, but it echoes in their hearts. If God loves me, why does this still hurt? We live in a world that celebrates quick answers and instant results. If something takes too long, we assume something is wrong. If pain lasts longer than expected, we think we've been forgotten. But what if the delay is not punishment? What if the prolonged struggle is not rejection? What if it is preparation? Throughout life, some of the most meaningful transformations do not happen quickly. They happen slowly, invisibly, often painfully. And many people give up not because they are weak, but because they misunderstand what the struggle is for. This story is not about instant miracles. It is about quiet endurance. It is about a season where nothing seems to change on the outside, while everything is changing on the inside. If you've ever felt tired of waiting, if you've ever questioned your faith during a long, silent season, if you've ever wondered whether your struggle has a purpose at all, stay until the end of this story. Because what you are walking through right now may not be delaying your life. It may be shaping it. Long ago, in a quiet village surrounded by dry hills and narrow dirt roads, there lived a man named Elias. He was not poor, yet he was never comfortable. He worked hard, rose early, and returned home tired each evening, but his life felt strangely unfinished. Elias was known as a patient man, but inside, his heart carried a constant question. While others in the village seemed to move forward, building families, expanding their land, finding recognition, his own life felt stuck in the same place year after year. Every morning, Elias walked to the edge of the village where an old stone well stood. It was there that he prayed. Not loudly, not with many words. Just a quiet request repeated day after day, for clarity, for progress, for change. He believed in God deeply. He followed the teachings he had learned since childhood. Yet faith to him was becoming heavier with each unanswered prayer. At times he wondered if he was doing something wrong. Perhaps he lacked wisdom. Perhaps he lacked courage. Or perhaps God simply had chosen others over him. The most painful part was not the work itself. It was the waiting. The waiting for something to shift. The waiting for a sign that his effort mattered. One evening, as Elias sat outside his modest home watching the sun sink behind the hills, he admitted a truth he had long avoided. He was tired of being strong. He did not want greatness. He did not ask for wealth. He only wanted to know that his struggle had meaning. That night, for the first time in many years, Elias did not pray for change. He prayed for understanding. And it was during this season of quiet exhaustion, when hope felt thin and answers seemed distant, that an unexpected encounter would begin to reshape how Elias saw his struggle, his faith, and the long road he was walking. The following morning, Elias left his home before sunrise, as he always did. The air was cool, and the village still slept in silence. He walked toward the old road beyond the fields, hoping the movement would quiet the restlessness in his heart. Along the path, he noticed an elderly man sitting beneath a fig tree. His clothes were simple, his posture relaxed, as if time itself moved more slowly around him. What caught Elias's attention was not the man's appearance, but his eyes, calm, observant, and strangely familiar. As Elias passed, the old man spoke softly. "You walk as someone who carries more than he can see." Elias stopped. Few people noticed his inner weight, and fewer still named it so clearly. Out of courtesy and curiosity, he replied that he was simply tired. The old man smiled gently. "Tiredness is not from labor," he said. "It is from not knowing what the labor is for." They sat together in the quiet morning. Elias spoke more than he intended to. He spoke of years of effort without progress, prayers without answers, faith that felt stretched thin by waiting. The old man listened without interruption. When Elias finished, he nodded once, as if confirming something he already knew. "If you wish to understand your struggle," the man said, "then begin a simple task." He pointed toward the hillside where scattered stones lay half buried in the soil. "Each day," he continued, "carry one stone from that hill to the edge of your home. Do this every morning. Say nothing about it. Ask no one for approval. Do not stop until I tell you to." Elias frowned, confused. The task felt meaningless. It promised no reward, no recognition, no visible change. Sensing his hesitation, the old man added quietly, "Some answers cannot be explained. They must be lived." Before Elias could ask another question, the old man rose, stepped onto the road, and slowly disappeared beyond the bend. Elias remained seated beneath the fig tree, holding the weight of the instruction. He did not understand it. But for the first time in a long while, he felt something different. Not relief, but direction. And so the next morning, Elias lifted the first stone. At first, the task felt almost insulting. Each morning, before the sun fully rose, Elias walked to the hillside and chose a single stone. Some were smooth, others jagged, but none seemed special. He carried it back to his home and placed it carefully near the entrance, just as the old man had instructed. No one noticed. No one asked. Nothing changed. After the first week, doubt crept in. The stones began to form a small, uneven line along the edge of his house. They served no purpose. They earned no praise. They answered none of his prayers. Villagers passed by and looked at him with quiet confusion. A few laughed softly. One asked why he was cluttering his home with useless rocks. Elias had no answer. So he said nothing and continued. As the weeks passed, the stones grew heavier, not in weight, but in meaning. Some mornings, Elias woke with resistance in his chest. He questioned the wisdom of a task that led nowhere. He wondered if faith had finally crossed into foolishness. There were days he considered stopping, days when the old man felt like a strange memory rather than a guide, days when carrying the stone felt harder than the labor he had always known. Yet something within Elias refused to quit. He noticed changes he could not explain. His steps grew steadier. His breathing slowed. His thoughts, once restless, began to settle during the walk. The path to the hillside became familiar. The act of choosing the stone became deliberate. What once felt pointless began to feel grounding. Still, the struggle remained. The stones lined his home like silent witnesses to time passing without results. No breakthrough came. No sign appeared. And the question returned, heavier than ever. Why continue when nothing is happening? One morning, after many months, Elias finally spoke the question aloud. Standing before the long row of stones, he whispered, "What is all this for?" The answer did not come that day, but the struggle had done something subtle and irreversible. Without realizing it, Elias was no longer carrying stones out of obligation. He was carrying them out of faith, refined by endurance. And soon, the meaning of the task would be revealed, not through a miracle, but through understanding. One evening, as Elias returned home later than usual, he found the old man standing quietly near the stones. He had not heard him arrive. Yet there he was, as calm and unhurried as the first morning they met. Elias felt a mix of relief and frustration. Before he could speak, the old man gestured toward the long line of stones. "How many do you think you have carried?" he asked. Elias hesitated. He had never counted. "Hundreds," he replied. "Maybe more." The old man nodded. "And how many times did you feel like stopping?" Elias lowered his eyes. "Almost every day." The old man picked up one of the stones and placed it back on the ground. "Then look again," he said. Elias did. For the first time, he noticed something he had overlooked. The stones were not scattered anymore. They formed a foundation, a deliberate line, strong, unmovable. "You thought you were carrying stones," the old man said softly. "But you were being taught how to carry weight." Elias felt his breath catch. "Strength is not formed in moments of relief," the man continued. "It is formed in repetition without applause, in obedience without explanation, in waiting without certainty." Elias finally understood. The struggle had never been about the stones. It was about who he was becoming while carrying them. In real life, many people mistake delay for denial. They assume that if progress is slow, God must be absent. But often, God allows the struggle to last longer because something deeper must be built first. Character before calling, endurance before elevation, faith before fulfillment. If the season ended too soon, the foundation would be weak, and what rises on weak ground cannot stand for long. The old man's voice grew quieter. "When you are ready to carry more, you will be given more. But first, you must learn how to stand under weight." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Elias surrounded not by stones, but by meaning. That night, Elias did not remove the stones. He left them exactly where they were. But when he looked at them, he no longer saw wasted effort. He saw mornings of discipline, steps taken when motivation was absent. Faith practiced in silence. The struggle had not disappeared, yet it no longer felt empty. Elias understood something many never do, that God's work often happens beneath the surface, long before anything changes on the outside. Just as roots grow deep before a tree rises tall, strength is formed long before it is revealed. Some seasons are not meant to be rushed. They are meant to be endured. If you are walking through a long, difficult chapter right now, this story is for you. If your prayers feel unanswered and your progress invisible, know this: you may not be behind, you may be in training. What feels repetitive may be refining you. What feels heavy may be strengthening you. And what feels delayed may be protecting you from rising too soon. God does not waste struggle. He uses it to prepare hearts that can carry what is coming. One day, when the season shifts, you will look back, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because you will realize that the waiting did not weaken you. It built you. If this story spoke to your heart, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. What are you carrying each day, even when no one notices? If you believe someone you love is struggling in silence, share this story with them. Sometimes, the right message at the right time can bring unexpected strength. For more stories that bring clarity, faith, and purpose to everyday struggles, subscribe to this channel. New videos are released regularly to remind you that your pain has meaning and your waiting has value. And before you leave, pause for a moment. Ask yourself this simple question: what is my struggle preparing me for? Your story is still being written,